Part 22. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjio Old Thief. Chapter 211. The reward can also be doubled. What Yabai cares about the most is this. In fact, Yabai didn't panic at all after receiving the latest information. I quickly used Eye of Insight to check the survival rate again. There are no fluctuations. If you think about it carefully, it makes sense. First of all, Eye of Insight can observe abnormalities in the abyssal plane. This means that Yabai himself can also obtain the information passed back by Lan Lao. Secondly, Lao Lan is not the mascot in this rescue plan. When calculating the survival rate, Lan Lao's IQ will naturally be taken into consideration. At last, when Eye of Insight calculated the survival rate, it had already considered the possibility of Mr. Lan delivering the message in advance. The so-called survival rate calculation is not a glimpse into the future. Instead, he combined countless possible things together, calculated the results that echoed Yabai's needs, and obtained the corresponding probabilities. Facing Yabai's request for more money, Yingju said angrily. The maximum is 10,000 God of War merit points, do you want it or not? The merits of 10,000 Gods of War. How many mines do you need to sell to earn back? Xuemeng hits 80 with a hammer, and it takes 125 hammers to hit enough. Even Shadow 10 on the side was a little shocked, feeling that something was not right. He only received 150 God of War merits on this mission. Is the salary gap a bit too big? It was promised equal pay for equal work. Even in the face of 10,000 God of War feats, Yabai was still not satisfied. One more thing, I want to learn how to conquer the world. The black mist rolled in, and Master Ju's temper rose. Why should you learn something that is unfavorable? If you learn something that is not good, you should learn to save the world. Are your wings stiff and you want to die, or do you still think Master Ju can't protect you? Ju seemed to particularly dislike this skill, so he took the initiative to propose. I will teach you a sword technique that falls from the sky. The current burst can make you the king of war in seconds, and in the future you can make the god of war in seconds. Yabai was unmoved. I want to learn how to win over others. Add a life-saving magical skill. I want to learn how to conquer the world. No matter how Ju tried to coerce and induce him, Yabai's stance was firm. I want to learn how to conquer the world. Being handsome is a lifelong thing. On the 14th floor, the second brother's sword attack really shocked Yabai. Turn the sky upside down. Go for this name and learn it. Okay, whatever you want. Yingju snorted coldly. As long as you don't regret it. Let's go. After Master Ju gave the order, Yingshi walked forward while turning to look at Master Ju. The burly man, who was 1.9 meters tall, had a somewhat twisted expression on his face, struggling very hard and hesitating to speak. Yabai looked anxious for him. Yingju sighed and spoke again. This SSS level mission is completed, 8,000 God of War merits. This is what Yingshi waited for. Thank you Master Ju. After saying that, he ran away, his speed increased to the limit, and disappeared into the abyss of the horns in the blink of an eye. Yingju stayed where he was, the black mist rolled in, and he didn't know what he was thinking. Not long after, a bone bell rang in the horn abyss. The moment the bone bell sound appeared, all the monsters in the horn abyss collapsed on the ground, trembling, without any ability to resist. Some timid monsters even engage in Xiao Xiao's embarrassing behavior. Yingju put his left hand on the knife, waiting for the coming person. The visitor, Shadow 3. A strong man with bone bells hanging all over his body and dragging a white bone club grinned and said, Master Ju. Yingju nodded slightly and asked, who caused the trouble this time? Ying-san answered honestly. It has been discovered that the second demon god instigated the fifth demon god to come forward. Except for the great demon god and the 13th demon god, all the other demon gods participated. After a pause, Ying-san spoke again. However, I think the real mastermind behind this may be the great demon god. The second demon god is probably being used as a gun, and I don't know it yet. Regardless of whether this matter succeeds or fails, it will be beneficial and harmless to the great demon god. If it succeeds, the human race will be weakened, and the great demon god will be happy to hear about it. If defeated, the great demon god can also take the opportunity to come out to gather the demon's heart and rectify the abyss. Generous. There are still 10 demon gods in the abyss, and the big demon god is firmly behind the scenes, secretly uniting 8 families in one breath. Obviously, the demon gods also felt that the finals were approaching, and their hearts became restless. After listening to Ying-san's report, the black fog kept rolling, and Ying-ju's voice came. A bunch of worthless things. After scolding the devil, Ying-ju changed the subject. You did a good job. Go back to Blue Star to recuperate first, and stay away from King Huo Tian. Ying-san nodded, understood. The human race's all-powerful god of war is also known as the King of Heaven. Ying-ju called the guy in the black coffin, Madman Huo, in front of Ye Bai. In front of Ying-san, he still had to give Huo Tianwang some face. Ying-san thought about it for a moment and said tentatively. Master Ju, I dare to ask, what kind of person is Shura? What do you mean? After saying that, Ying-ju amused herself and laughed. No, this kid is not a good person in any way. While Ying-ju was talking to himself, he didn't notice at all that Ying-san's expression on the side was dull. Master Ju smiled. Is this the Ju yet he knows? Ying-san still can't forget the scene when he met Master Ju for the first time. Ju wielded a 40-meter-long machete and chased a seriously injured demon god, trying to gesticulate with him. A casual slash of the sword can easily kill the 9th-level war god. The powerful visual impact left a deep psychological shadow on Ying-san, who made up his mind to be a good person. Where is that decisive, ruthless, unscrupulous, ruthless Master Ju? Ying-san's left hand was in his pocket. Kabuto has a small black box where he can have private or group chats with shadow-level experts. With a few clicks of his finger, Ying-san sent a message. Love and Family Film. Unnamed, Film 3 has Lord Ju been switched, I'm a little panicked and anxious, waiting online. Weak woman, Shadow 1 you said the shadow didn't lie to the shadow. Bad man, Film 2 Ad 1. The guy who blew himself up, Shadow 7 Ad 1. Click here to expand 90 duplicate messages. You have been banned by the group leader Ying-ju. The group leader activates muting mode for all members. Ying-ju, why are you so quiet? Let's continue chatting. Ying-san raised his head, looked at Master Ju, and apologized. I haven't seen you smile like this in more than 30 years. Ying-ju said coldly. Nonsense, the last time we met was more than 30 years ago. He softened his words a little and continued. I know what you mean. You are worried that Shura is not easy to get along with. In other words, you are worried. You guys refer to the strongest group of people in Shadow. Shadow 1, Shadow 2, Shadow 3. On the surface, they are all level 989 9th level gods of war. When truly cornered, the killing power unleashed is extraordinary. Shadow 4, level 988. Shadow 5, level 986. Shadow 6, level 985. Only Ying-ju can suppress these 10 masters at the same time. Although Xuemeng cried and complained for most of the night, drank a lot of wine, and had no useful words. In the end, he left the bill to Ying-chi. No one wants to have a difficult boss. After commenting on Shura a few words, Master Ju tried his best not to find fault. In the end, Ying-ju, who really couldn't finish editing, used 5 words to conclude Shura's coffin. The only channel to inquire about Shura is Master Ju. Therefore, everyone unanimously decided to let the most resistant Ying San to ask this question. However, someone asked Xuemeng about it. The most powerful people do not interfere with each other, but Ying San knows some inside stories. After the war, the most powerful people will choose not to care about worldly affairs and speak in simple terms, and the dragon will see the beginning but not the end. Shura always wants to do everything he can within his sight and ability. Shadow 8, level 982. After pondering for a moment, Yingju said slowly. In other words, Shura will be their boss for a long time to come. Aspirations may not necessarily be lofty, but actions must be pragmatic. It is equivalent to delegating power to the next generation of the strongest. Even if Ju stabs him, he won't be killed. The results of it? But the problem happens here. Therefore, it is very important for them to figure out what kind of person Shura is in advance. In the past, when we ate and drank, didn't Xuemeng pay for it? There must be a battle between the most powerful man and the most powerful demon god. Shadow 7, level 985. Shadow 10, Shadow 11, level 980. When Ying Qi came back, his head was buzzing and he felt like something was not right. Not a big problem. First, asking for information about Shura would risk revealing Shura's identity. Should he tell Ying San that Shura never does human things? The human race needs to have one more powerful person, which is equivalent to having one more boss above everyone. Nightmare is like this, Wuhan is like this, Xiaoao will be like this too. Secondly, only Yingju, Xuemeng, and others got along with Shura more. He's a good boy. There are always surprising things. There are as many as 10 9th level war gods in the shadow alone. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjai Old Thief. Chapter 212. The Plain of the Oxhorn Abyss. Ye Bai didn't know the conversation between Ying San and Ju yet. However, he was currently hiding in Shadow 10's shadow, following the opponent at high speed. Ye Bai enjoyed the feeling of being able to take off without moving. Is this the joy of Master Ju? Master Ju's happiness is beyond your imagination. While moving at high speed, Ye Bai spoke. Brother Zhongshan, when you reach the abyss plane, don't rush to explore it. I'll take a look at the surrounding environment first. Okay, it's all up to you, Montenegro. While talking, Ying Shi took the time to look at the chat group. Master Ju said Shura is a good boy. This is the message sent by the third brother in the small group, and everyone is having a heated discussion. Obviously, Ying Chi held different opinions on Master Ju's statement. Shadow 10 recalled the previous conversation between Shura and Master Ju. What the hell is this, a child? Have you ever seen that child, who hides in the shadows as soon as they meet, bargains with Master Ju, and is always thinking about collecting wool? In less than 5 minutes of getting along, Shadow 10 realized that the rumors about Shura were true. The geese are pulled out, the sheep are pulled out, the skin is peeled and the muscles are cramped, the bones are knocked and the marrow is sucked out. Take a look at Xuemeng's recent transformation and you will know what kind of person Shura is. Coming. Shadow 10 introduced in a low voice. The passage in this small abyssal plane is difficult to open. It can only be opened in a fixed area and will close 10 minutes after it is opened. Moreover, the location of entering the small abyss plane is random, and there is no way to accurately locate it. Xuemeng had previously traveled through a small abyss plane. Although he could receive the message from Shadow 11, he didn't know how far away he was. There is fog and environment everywhere, and it takes a lot of effort to find Shadow 11. Before they finished speaking, the two came to a portal. This portal was specially opened for the two of them. Wait a minute. Following Ye Bai's instructions, Ying Shi stopped the passage to the medium-sized abyss plane. The suture abyss plane, medium size, is evolving and is expected to evolve into a large abyss plane within 168 hours. After evolution, the seed that has the potential to become a demon will evolve randomly. Current number of demon seeds, 18. Before Yebai had time to sort out the information in front of him, the prompt jumped. Current number of demon seeds, 17. Yingxi opened his mouth. Xuemeng sent a message saying that there was a strange guy near their teleportation gate, and he was thrown into the teleportation channel and killed. Yebai. Fierce. There are 17 demon god seeds. Once the evolution of suture plane is completed, one of them will randomly evolve into a demon god. That's when it gets tricky. So, the correct approach should be to find a way to kill all the remaining 17 demon seeds within 168 hours. Give the enemy time to develop. Non-existent. Yebai thought to himself, if you encounter the devil, you will most likely have to stop eating. Not only must these 17 demon seeds be killed, but all the demons in the entire abyss plane must be purified. What if there is a surprise hidden somewhere? Be careful. However, Yebai still didn't let Yingxi set off. There was one more thing he didn't understand. A small plate, a small abyssal plane that fell from the fourth abyss. Why has it transformed into a medium-sized abyssal plane, and has the potential to evolve into a large-sized abyssal plane? This is unreasonable. If you don't understand this problem, Yebai won't get into it easily. The outcome of the battle, to some extent, depends on the collection and use of information. It is crucial to understand the origin of sowing the abyss. Concentrate, concentrate. Yebai stared at the portal in front of him, and more information emerged. The 8 demon gods, each took out a small part of the origin and plate, and superimposed it on the suture abyss. The case is solved, it's the Stitch monster. Just like the 5 dead, 6 corpses trick. Take a part of each corpse and finally piece it together into a new corpse. Only this method can make a small abyssal plane jump 2 levels in a row, and even have a chance to give birth to a demon. After reading the prompt, Yebai probably had an idea in his mind and whispered. It's time to go. Shadow 10 took a step forward, one person and one shadow, passing through the portal. Sowing the abyss. As soon as Shadow 10 landed, a monster rushed towards him. Meow. After a cat meow, the 3-headed hell dog rushed out. Shadow 10? Did he hear wrongly? Why do dogs meow? Is there something wrong? The level 200 3-headed hell dog had a combat power that far exceeded that of the same level. He quickly slaughtered all the surrounding monsters and returned to Shadow 10. Stay where you are. Yebai hid in the shadow and looked around. There was fog everywhere and he couldn't see his fingers. Current detectable range, 10 kilometers. Yebai didn't expect that the Eye of Insight could only see clearly things within 10 kilometers. I'm not bragging, I'm just a passerby, I'm not trying to start a fight, I'm just saying something fair. Is this SSS level talent too disdainful? Shut down. Stop making trouble, why are you so impatient? Yebai surveyed the surrounding area 360 degrees without blind spots, and had a general understanding of the monsters within a 10-kilometer radius. There is no trace of Mr. Lan, and there are no members of the rescue team. It seems to be quite far away. Although the Eye of Insight cannot detect too far, it is still no problem to point out a general direction. Go southwest, advance 1.5 kilometers, don't go too fast, press your breath to show the enemy that you are weak. Yingxi nodded and acted exactly as Yebai ordered. Although he didn't understand what the point of doing this was. Along the way, they encountered many monsters, all of which were dealt with by the 3-headed hell dog. Shura seemed to have made up his mind and would not take action easily. This made Shadow 10, who had some expectations, inevitably feel a little disappointed. He also wanted to see the rumored super high burst damage of Shura. Everyone always has different opinions about the most powerful seeds. After all, in order to protect Shura, his information is highly confidential. As a result, along the way, he only saw a dog busy in front of him and taking care of him the whole time. Could it be that Shura is actually a summoner? Shadow 10 felt that he might have discovered an amazing secret. Shock. The high SSSS rating of the human race is actually due to dogs. The secret that Shura and dog have to tell. 3 people, me, Shura, and the dog. Stop. Ye Bai's voice was unusually serious, and Yingxi instantly became more vigilant. What's wrong? 10 kilometers away, there is a demon seed, level 601. Listening to Shura's introduction, Shadow 10 asked, avoid it, or go over and deal with it. Normally, there seem to be only these 2 ways to deal with it. Obviously. He underestimated Ye Bai. Ye Bai in the shadow stretched out his foot and kicked the 3-headed hell dog. Go and explore the road. When I woke up, my glasses were crushed. Can you imagine coding with 600 degrees of myopia without glasses? Get some glasses before going out. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjai Old Thief. Chapter 213. Sowing the Abyss. Switch to airplane mode. Under Ye Bai's command, 2 wings sprouted from the 3-headed hell dog's back, and it was about to fly forward with flutter. As it flew, its 3 heads laughed sinisterly. Ja. This laughter made Ye Bai's scalp tingle. No wonder it's called Flying Laughing Wolf, it really laughs while flying. Obviously, this laughter neither conforms to Ye Bai's aesthetic taste nor to his hidden strategic needs. Ye Bai issued new instructions. Switch to silent mode. The 3-headed hell dog stopped in mid-air and looked back at Ye Bai resentfully. Cerberus, again, that cat can fly. Unfortunately, humans and dogs cannot communicate with each other. Dog head propeller is back in the market. Watching the dog's head spiraling up into the sky, Yingxi suspected that he was dazzled. The scene was so shocking that he couldn't find words to describe his feelings. The only thing Shadow 10 can be sure of is, the words Shura and Good Boy have nothing to do with each other. With the vanguard opening the way, Yingxi followed Ye Bai's instructions to keep a certain distance and follow them not far or close. Arrive. Shadow 10 looked forward, saw the so-called demon god seed, frowned and said, is this the demon seed? An egg was fixed in place like a ball of wool, constantly exuding evil energy. It is extremely eye-catching and has no intention of covering up at all. Looks so weak. Shadow 10 asked in a low voice, do you want me to take care of it? No, let's stay away from the dirty things. After taking a closer look, Ye Bai found that he was unable to collect more information, so he had to remotely command the 3-headed hell dog to attack. Only use fire damage attacks, 1 step at a time. Yingxi and Ye Bai distanced themselves and watched the changes. Boom. Under the continuous attacks of the 3-headed hell dog, the demon seed was roasted until it was charred on the outside and tender on the inside, and finally exploded and died. Current number of demon seeds, 16. 3 kilometers away, Ye Bai stared at the remains of the demon seeds on the ground, trying to spot a flower. A strange power of law descended, and the wreckage withered instantly as if it had been drained. Current demon seeds are immune to damage, space system, fire system. Ye Bai. Sure enough, I knew it wasn't that simple. Space system, fire system immunity. Seeing the changes in front of him, Ye Bai calmly analyzed. The first demon seed was strangled by the space channel, and the second one was killed by fire damage. And all the remaining demon seeds have gained immunity to the space system and the fire system? If this is the case, Ye Bai asserts, These juvenile seeds are bait, and the birth of the demon god is to raise goo. In the early stage, these demon seeds were so weak that a dog could easily kill them. After they die, all remaining demon seeds will receive new buffs and become more powerful. The demon god who is finally born will also become extremely troublesome. Just as Yabai was thinking this, the prompt message in front of him jumped again. Current number of demon seeds, 15. Current demon seeds are immune to damage, space, fire, and wind. Chongshan, summoned Xuemeng and the others immediately. Yabai told Yingxi what he had discovered, and the other party was responsible for relaying it. Good. Yingxi closed his eyes slightly and muttered something. Soon, he opened his eyes and moved his ears slightly, obviously receiving a reply. Yabai had a bad premonition and asked, "What's wrong?" Shadow Ten said frankly. I received a reply from Xuemeng. However, the response did not follow the password specifications for this mission. Each attendance mission will have a corresponding code book. It is not difficult for a God of War level expert to memorize these code books. The long-distance communication between them must strictly follow the password specifications, otherwise the encryption effect will not be achieved. After the unencrypted information is cracked by the demons, the consequences are endless. At the same time, if the information transmitted remotely is tampered with by the demons, it will also cause terrible consequences. Therefore, once information that does not comply with password specifications is received, it will be invalid by default. This is one of the iron rules of the battlefield accumulated from the hundreds of years of war between humans and demons. Su Qingfeng and Xuemeng are both experienced warriors, so they cannot understand this. Yingxi's face cast a shadow. In other words, the reply I received was tampered with by the demons. On the contrary, the information I sent has also been tampered with, and they may have received misleading information. When they first entered the suture abyss, they could still communicate normally. Now, the devil hidden behind the scenes can already influence the content of the call through certain means. Obviously, during the evolution process of stitching the abyss plane, the demon god's control over the abyss has further improved. Going forward, I don't know what else I will encounter. Yabai was silent for a moment and then spoke again. After all, this is the enemy's home court, and it is normal for the opponent to occupy a favorable location. This has been expected for a long time. Let's take one step at a time, find Lan Lao first, and then we'll talk about the rest. As for the interference in the subpoena, Yabai was not very worried. You have to trust your teammates, idiots don't live long in the abyss. Even Xuemeng is quite witty sometimes. Not to mention, there were two acquaintances of Yabai in the rescue team of Lao Lan, Feng Dong and Feet. They are all thoughtful people, fully capable of dealing with various emergencies. Good. In the mist, Yingxi set off again under Yabai's instructions, heading in the direction of Lan Lao. At the other end of the suture abyss, 1,500 kilometers away, the rescue team of Lao Lan is being repaired. After entering the suture abyss, they experienced several fierce battles. Due to the existence of special buff, Xuemeng and Su Qingfeng are unable to cause damage to monsters. However, as human shields and support, the two of them are undoubtedly the best. The rest just need to focus on output. It's this weird thing again. Under Su Qingfeng's command, Feng Dong successfully killed the demon seed with Win's infinite distance. Feng Dong, who succeeded with one blow, was full of worry and said in a deep voice, "Nephew, I feel something is wrong. Call me Vice Captain." Su Qingfeng asked with a straight face, "What's wrong?" "When I attacked this weird monster just now, I used space-based skills and it didn't cause any damage." After Feng Dong finished speaking, someone immediately added, "Yes, my fire magic doesn't hurt either. Space system, fire system." Su Qingfeng chewed on these two words. Is the demon seed immune to this? As a candidate for the upcoming demon god, it is reasonable to have some immunity. Message from Shadow 10. Xuemeng looked ugly when he received the summons. The translation doesn't make sense, it's obviously manipulated. This situation has long been expected. Su Qingfeng said, simply send a message back and tell them they didn't receive it. As for the strangeness of the previous encounter with the demon seed, Su Qingfeng and Xuemeng briefly talked about it. Xuemeng said casually, I heard Yingxi mention it before that there are a total of 18 demon seeds in this thing, and it seems that they have also encountered them. Damage immunity, determining the source of fatal damage, I've seen something similar on the battlefield before. In other words, the more you kill this thing, the more difficult it becomes. So far, space system, wind system, fire system, demon god seed has been immune to 3 systems. Even without prompting, the 2 of them quickly deduced the truth. Attention everyone. Xuemeng told everyone the deduced information and emphasized. Don't use thunder, blood, or shadow skills to attack the demon seeds. According to the characteristics of the demon god seed, the more powerful the method, the more it should be saved for last. Su Qingfeng specializes in space system and wind system. In a sense, he is already a blank slate. However, Xuemeng always treated him as a blank slate. So, not much difference. After hearing Xuemeng's order, everyone was stunned for a moment, and soon someone exclaimed, Shura is here. Fuck, really, Shura is here too. Shura is actually by my side. No, Shura should act separately from us. Which of these carefully selected team members is not a human being? Feng Dong here is considered to be on the floor of IQ. Just from what Xuemeng said, they inferred that Shura was also suturing the abyss. Thunder system. Which genius in the human race is best at the thunder system now? Needless to say, the most powerful seed, Shura. Suddenly, everyone in the rescue team of Lan Lao was in high spirits, and they all shouted. Kill the monsters and break the fog. Save Mr. Lan and find Shura. Xuemeng, Su Qingfeng. It's nice to be young. Xuemeng sighed and couldn't figure it out. Why would anyone rush to get in front of Shura? Do they think they have too much money? Too young people. Silly children, run. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjai Old Thief. Chapter 214. Sowing the Abyss. 2 flowers bloom, one on each side. The rescue team of Lao Lan and Shadow 10 did not know each other's location, so they could only go by their feelings. The only difference is that Ye Bai has Eye of Insight navigation in his hand. Go straight ahead for 30 kilometers. I discovered a new demon seed. Do you want to accept a side mission? You have deviated and are replanning your route. It was only at this moment that Ye Bai felt that the Eye of Insight was somewhat of an SSS level talent. Customized copies belong to Yes. The fog that stitches the abyss, in addition to obscuring vision, also creates illusions and phantom attacks. Ye Bai has the Eye of Insight and can ignore all illusions. At the same time, Shadow 10 is a 9th level war god with extremely profound knowledge in the soul system. These illusions pose no threat to him at all. The 2 of them walked along at extremely fast speeds without any obstacles. However, the area of the sutured abyss plane exceeded Ye Bai's imagination. 2 hours have passed, and they haven't met Mr. Lan yet. Instead, it was Demon Seed who met the third one. Compared with the previous 2 times, the Demon God Seed now has a certain degree of combat power, and it can fight against cats and dogs without falling behind at all. Kill it with poison, you can do it, little kitten, come on. Ye Bai remotely controlled Black Tiger to cheer him on. 10 minutes later, this difficult battle was finally won. The demon god seeds exploded, and the law of the abyss descended once again. Current number of demon seeds, 11. Current demon seeds are immune to damage, space system, fire system, wind system, ice system, gravity system, deadwood system, poison system. Looking at the damage categories that the demon seeds were immune to, Yebai nodded slightly. It seems that Shuemeng and the others have also noticed the problem and can control the damage of the corresponding system. As Yebai thought before, everyone's IQ is obviously online. Or, after entering the abyss, people's intelligence will automatically improve. This possibility cannot be ruled out. The more niche the category, the smaller the restrictions on Yebai and others. As the demon seeds become stronger, so does the mist. Shadow 10 was on his way when he suddenly stopped and his body shook slightly. The shadow under his feet instantly distanced itself from him and remained alert. It doesn't matter. Shadow 10 opened his eyes and said seriously, the illusion has become stronger. I can completely handle it with my strength, but, it's hard to say for 11. His level in the soul system is not high. It's very possible to be deceived by illusions. Hearing this, Yebai frowned. We must find Mr. Lan as soon as possible. He immediately adjusted the progress. Speed up the progress, Demon God Seed, put it aside for now and rush to Lan Lao at full speed. Good. One person and one shadow, embarking on the journey again. Beside the cliff, Lan Lao chewed the energy bar carefully, chewing each mouthful 23 times. After finishing the energy bar, he drank half a glass of water and looked around, his eyes full of worry. The fog is getting thicker. Don't worry, Mr. Lan, Shuemeng and the others should be able to find us soon. Shadow 11 spoke to comfort him. As long as he's here, these fogs can't hurt Lan Lao at all. All illusions, if they cannot break through Ying 11's defense, cannot cause harm to Lan Lao. While the two were chatting, two figures came from the other side of the fog, followed by a dog. The fog blocked the view, making it difficult to see clearly. The dog has 3 heads, it should be the legendary 3-headed hell dog. From the other side of the mist, Ying Shi's dull voice came. Shadow 11. Is Mr. Lan with you? Someone is coming. Lan Lao's expression did not change at all, and he even took another sip of water. Ying 11 stopped in front of Lan Lao and warned the intruder. Stay where you are and don't come closer. This is an abyssal plane, also known for its fog and illusions, where anything can happen. For example, the illusion that can confuse the god of war. If it's just a small abyssal plane, Shadow 11 certainly doesn't have to worry. But Lan Lao has concluded through calculations that this is a medium-sized abyss plane that is evolving. In addition, there is a demon spying behind the scenes, so Shadow 11 cannot afford to be careless. His strength can ensure that Lan Lao stays in place safely. However, if there are other beings who want to take the opportunity to get close to the two of them, Ying 11 will be fine, but Lan Lao may not be. Hearing Ying 11's warning, the other party stopped and shouted through the fog. I have Master Ju's token as proof. Shadow 10's voice fell, and another strange man's voice sounded. If you are worried, I can ask the mistress to deliver the token to you. Xiao-san is a shadow-summoned beast, a 3-headed dog from hell, level 200. This man should be the legendary Shura. The level 200 summoned beast is still of the shadow system and will not pose a threat to Mr. Lan. Listening to Shura's suggestion, Ying 11 was a little moved, but still did not relax his vigilance. Follow the password rules. The two exchanged a few words in code words through the fog. Wilhen's growth rate is also astonishing. Within a month, he reached the level of God of War. He rushed to the front line to fight in person and his identity was exposed. Lan Laowiu said, I have a way to verify their identity. Lao Lan, please tell me. A rock. Without saying a word, the human race actually has a third most powerful person. How could Lao Lan do it? How could I possibly know this kind of thing? You think too highly of my old bones. Shura is completely different. Shura is cautious in everything, pays attention to everything, and hides his identity very well. If the visitor is Shura. It wasn't until he came out that people suddenly realized. If the person here is really Shura, then he will definitely know this. According to the news that Shadow 11 had received before, these two people were indeed traveling together. Judging from the information currently available, the other party does not have much of a problem. However, Shadow 11 cannot take this risk. Xiaoyao's mystery comes from his own acting style, which is an unintentional act. Ying 11 didn't understand why Mr. Lan was so sure. Apart from the most powerful person, only Ying Ju is the only one who knows Shura's true identity so far. Moreover, Shadow 10 also mentioned that Shura has a shadow-summoned beast of one cat and one dog. Wilhen showed his talents back then, but many people were actually paying attention to him silently. Ying 11 was delighted when he heard this. Old Lan, do you think you know Shura's true identity? Lan Lao opened his backpack and seemed to be rummaging for something. The opponent was some distance further, and he was not completely sure of protecting Lao Lan. The top 3 strongest people in the human race. Ying 11 lowered his head, his face full of confusion. Ying 11 lowered his voice and said, Old Lan, it looks like Brother 10, but I can't be sure. Needless to say, Nightmare was the one who took the lead without leaving any room for growth. Shadow 11 nodded, yes. Oh. As a 9th level war god, he couldn't do anything through the fog and tried all means. The password matches. With that said, Lan Lao took out something from his backpack and handed it to Ying 11. But staying with Mr. Lan for many years made him respect Mr. Ian's views very much. This is. Lan Lao smiled and said, besides, Shura attaches great importance to keeping his identity secret and does it, very carefully. Lan Lao confirmed again, you just said that they are Shadow 10 and Shura. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjai Old Thief. Chapter 215. Lan Lao took out a stone, and Ying 11 was a little confused as to what to do next. His eyes fell on the stone. Lan Lao's eyes were full of reluctance and he ordered. Throw this stone to them, be gentle and don't break it. If it was really Shura, he would know what to do. Be gentle. Afraid that Ying 11 would not take it seriously, Lan Lao emphasized it twice. Clear. Ying 11 took the stone and looked at it for a few times, but didn't see any clues. Just, an ordinary piece of stone. Why does Mr. Lan say that this stone can determine Shura's identity? Ying 11 didn't doubt Lao Ian's words, and didn't think about things he couldn't understand. It is his consistent style to leave problems to smarter people to solve. Take 2 steps back. I have something to verify your identity. I'll throw it over, remember to hold it with your shadow. The figure opposite the mist did not hesitate, nodded, and said, okay. Shadow 11 carefully threw the stone out. The stone disappeared into the mist, but there was no sound of falling to the ground. The figure opposite had obviously caught the stone and seemed to be examining it carefully without replying immediately. Ying 11 asked Lan Lao with his eyes, and Lan Lao nodded. Then he shouted, Shura, do you know this stone? The figure opposite the mist fell silent and did not answer immediately. Fake. The next moment Lan Lao spoke, Shadow 11 took action boldly, directly penetrating the fog and smashing the 2 figures into pieces. Once you are convinced that something like an illusion is fake in your heart, it will be much easier to crack it. After the figure disappeared, Lan Lao couldn't wait to speak. Take the stone back and be careful. Clear. Shadow 11's shadow attached to the stone twitched and came back with the stone. He was more curious about another thing. Lao Lan, what if we make a mistake in judgment and the other side is true? Wouldn't it be too cruel to act like this? It would be simpler if the other side were real. Putting the stone back into his backpack, Mr. Lan smiled and shook his head. You said earlier that Shadow 10 came with Shura. You can't beat Shadow 10, I can't beat Shura, and together we are no match for them. You don't have to worry about beating Shura to death. As far as I know, Shura cherishes his life. Shura's reputation outside the country basically focuses on 2 points. Cherish life and love money. Ying 11's eyes lit up, and he obviously thought of some way. Then when someone comes, don't worry about whether it's true or false, just give it a beating first. The one who can be beaten to death is not Shura. Even if it's really Shura, that's not it. This is the most troublesome part of the illusion. Lan Lao rubbed his temples, obviously not in good spirits. He had spent too much time during this period. You took action earlier and were able to easily break the illusion because you had already determined in your heart that it was an illusion. If you don't know whether it's true or false at all, and you try to test it, instead of helping, you'll only add to the chaos and get deeper into trouble. Lan Lao patiently explained. If you are in an illusion and you throw out a blow, the enemy can easily catch it. Deep down in your heart, you believe that the other party is Shadow 10, and you have fallen into the trap. For some reasons, Lan Tiankai's own strength is indeed not good, but he has a deep research on illusions and soul systems. Even Yingzhu and Xiaoao are not as good as him in some aspects. Listening to Lan Lao's explanation, Ying 11 nodded heavily. Lan Lao sighed and said slowly. You've been with me for too long, maybe 20 years. Even Ninth Brother's sword will become dull if he doesn't cut the demon for 20 years. It's been too long since you've been on the battlefield. You're used to living a peaceful life, and your fighting spirit obviously can't keep up. If it were Shadow 11 20 years ago, Mr. Lan wouldn't need to remind him of these things. If you live in peace for too long, the knife will become dull and the person will become stupid. Just as Ying 11 was about to say something, he was interrupted by Lan Lao, who raised his hand and signaled for him to continue listening. When this mission is over, if I still have the life to return to Blue Star, your guarding duties will end here. Getting together is fate, but if there is no separation, there will be no joy of reunion. Life is a process of constant alternation of farewell and reunion. You should do something you like, take a long vacation or something. As he spoke, Lao Lan gently rubbed his shoulders, feeling a little sore, and chuckled. I have always felt that the work system of Film 11 is very inhumane. It does not mean working 5 days and 2 days off, but at least working 5 years and taking 2 years off. Lao Lan, For a moment, Ying 11 didn't know what to say. In fact, the last one Shadow 11 was persuaded to quit by Mr. Lan. After leaving the position of Shadow 11, he successively challenged those who came before him. In 20 years, he reached Shadow 4 and now serves as the head guard of the Eternal Forest. It is also another kind of protection. If you have anything to say, let's wait until we survive. After speaking, Mr. Lan opened the sleeping cabin and said seriously. I have to rest, the next illusion will only get stronger and stronger, and my current mental state is easy to fall into. When someone comes, throw the stone over and the other person answers, then wake me up. Good. Lan Lao warned. It's 14:55 now. I slept for 8 hours. You make sure every 15 minutes that I'm not in a hallucination. There is no way, he is too weak. Now that he knows that he is holding him back, the only thing Lan Lao can do is to try not to hold him back and do his part well. Trapped in a trap carefully laid by the devil, he actually acquiesced that his life was gone. Do your best, and leave the rest to miracle. Or rather, leave it to Shura. Lan Tiankai remembered that Shura once left a message, next is the moment to witness a miracle. If it's Shura, it's normal to create miracles, right? With this thought in mind, Lan Lao lay down in the sleeping cabin. The sleep chamber was activated, emitting light blue light, and Lan Lao quickly fell asleep. 15:32. A figure appeared again outside the mist. It's still the same routine, First shout out from the air and give the code. After finishing the surface work. Only then did Ying 11 follow Lan Lao's instructions, take out the stone and throw it over. As soon as the stone was thrown, the figure outside the mist immediately made a move and wanted to break the stone. Shadow 11 moved faster, and while quickly retracting the stone, he took action to smash the figure outside the mist. Fake. 1608. The figure outside the mist, I know this stone. This is, the stone of the novice copy. To put it simply, it's just that Weibo's mother opened the door for Libby. It's so outrageous. The figure outside the fog, this stone can trigger the hidden level of the novice copy. I will give it to Mr. Lan. Shadow 11 took action, shattered the figure and took back the stone. After saying that, he closed his eyes and fell into sleep again. Fake. Just when Ying 11 was numb, there was another movement outside the fog. Fake. Fake. Everything that happens next is like a cycle. After hearing Ying 11's report, Mr. Lan didn't even leave the sleeping chamber. Repeating the previous plot, Shadow 11 throws stones. The figure outside the mist said, Lao Lan bought this stone for 1 million gold coins. 1632. The figure outside the mist, this is the stone from the novice copy. I once put it up for auction in the pavilion of all things. The figures outside the fog kept giving answers, Lan Lao woke up again and again, and Shadow 11 kept crushing the illusion projections. Shadow 11 were dumbfounded and subconsciously cursed. 1702. Ying 11 cheered up, but instead of making a final decision in his heart, he woke up Lao Lan. Fake. It was like he was in the appearance section of the live streaming platform, everything was fake and none of it was real. Fake. 1700 hours. What the fuck is this monster? Shadow 11 looked forward, not understanding what he saw. When flying, sometimes the head rotates but the body does not move, and sometimes the body rotates but the head does not move. Do whatever is convenient for you. 1708. Listening to Fake and hearing the numbness of Shadow 11, I watched from dawn to dusk. It should be a canine creature, right? 2 wings grew out from the side of its neck and flapped, and there was a propeller on its neck. However, due to the existence of fog, there is no difference between dawn and dusk in the suture abyss. Fake. This is. In the mist, a canine creature is flying. Shadow 11 can hardly understand the word fake. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjio Old Thief. Chapter 216. The monsters outside the mist are really ridiculously long. Shadow 11 felt that this might be a new type of monster born from the seam abyss. However, the monster's level was relatively weak and the two were far apart, so Shadow 11 did not take action immediately. The monster with the propeller on its head wandered around for half a circle and then left. Ying 11 woke up Lan Lao and told him about the monster. He always felt a little uneasy. Lao Lan, this monster is too scary. Lan Lao nodded slightly. It's definitely a bit weird. We cannot conclude now that the appearance of a bizarre monster is the arrival of Shura, otherwise it will enhance the illusion. Lao Lan emphasized. The environment here is essentially created by reading my memories. The figure outside the mist becomes more perfect every time, getting closer to reality. Hearing this, Ying 11 stopped talking. He was curious about something. Since the illusion has read part of Lan Lao's memory, why does Lan Lao test the opponent with stones and fail repeatedly? Logically speaking, Huan Jing has almost read the memory of the stone. A recent illusion projection accurately stated the origin of the stone. This stone is a stone from the novice dungeon. It is used to open the hidden dungeon. I once put it up for sale in the pavilion of all things for 1 million gold coins, and finally sold it to Mr. Lan for 60 silver coins. When Ying 11 heard this, he was shocked. The origin of the stone is so big. Opening the props of the hidden dungeon, Shura brought out the novice dungeon, and Lao Lan used his treasured 60 silver coins to buy it. Every piece of information here is extremely accurate, and only 2 or 3 people involved know it. After being shocked, Shadow 11 thought the other side was real. But Mr. Lan insisted, it's fake. Shadow 11 took action immediately, and the illusionary projection was instantly shattered. Maybe the devil behind the illusion doesn't know what the problem is. This memory has clearly been completely read, so why is it still false? Since then, it has finally stopped for a while. It wasn't until this propeller dog monster appeared that the piece was broken. Be careful, it's here again. The spiral dog flew over again, and a tall figure approached the two of them very quickly. Shadow 11 immediately warned. Stay where you are and don't come closer. On the other side of the fog, a slightly surprised figure came, 11. Shadow 11 was unusually numb, and began to deal with business matters, dealing with secret codes. The code is fine. Ying 11 looked at Lan Lao, who took out the stone again. I'll throw the stone over and you'll know if it's true or false. With that said, Shadow 11 threw the stone into the mist again. On the other side of the fog, Ye Bai hid in the shadow of Ying Shi, listened to the conversation between the two, and thought to himself. It seems that the two of them must have encountered a lot of illusions. This is where the trouble lies, in the illusion. You must be vigilant at all times, as you may get caught if you are not careful. Even if you encounter the truth, you will be extremely vigilant and must confirm it in every possible way. To be honest, Shadow 11's ability to persist until now has exceeded Shadow 10's expectations. He and Shura came all the way and drove as fast as possible. The fog is getting thicker and thicker, the illusion is getting stronger. Several times, Shadow 10 almost fell into the trap. Fortunately, the Eye of Insight reminds in time, whether it is an illusion or a fantasy attack, it can provide early warning, so that danger can be averted. Stone. Hearing the voice coming from the other side of the mist, Ye Bai immediately thought of a stone. The stone I sold to Mr. Lan. It certainly works if you use this for testing. But, can it really last this long? Ye Bai's doubts were soon revealed. A stone flew out of the fog and landed in front of the two of them. A stone that looks very familiar, every detail is exactly the same, even the wear marks are exactly the same. Many prompts popped up in front of Ye Bai's eyes. Fake is a good thing. This stone was produced in the novice copy 35 years ago in order to simulate the novice copy environment. Xiaoao took out the entire novice copy and placed it on Blue Star for Lao Lan to study. The wear marks on the stone were recently added and are perfectly reproduced 1:1 according to a certain stone. Little brother, have you learned it? Ginger is still spicy. Ye Bai never expected that Mr. Lan would bring a fake stone with him. On the other side of the mist, Shadow 11 urged, answer. There was already a hint of distrust in his words. Shadow 10 remained silent as his body glowed with a pale yellow light, preparing to resist the opponent's attack. At the critical moment, Ye Bai's voice sounded. Fake. Shadow 11 subconsciously wanted to take action, but suddenly realized that something was wrong. What I just said was not what Mr. Lan said. It belongs to turning against the guest and being the main one. Hearing the reply from outside the mist, Lan Lao raised the corners of his mouth slightly, met Ying 11's gaze, nodded, and said. Real. Only a real Shura can tell that this is a fake stone. Call. Ying 11 let out a long breath, still not completely letting down his guard. Come closer. What tokens did you bring? The figure outside the mist slowly approached, and the young voice sounded again. Token? Let me look for it. The sword of the heavenly king, the wind of nightmare, the crest of shadows. Ying 11 couldn't help but take a breath of mist, his face full of shock. The names the other party said casually were all legendary items, SS level, SSS level equipment, the identity certificate of the 9 masters in the shadow, etc. If anyone takes out any of the above mentioned things and claims to be Shura, Shadow 11 will believe it 5 points. There is no way, these things are too precious. The entire human race can't come up with a few pieces. The man said distressedly, it doesn't feel like it can prove that I am Shura. Alas, hiding my identity too well can sometimes be a source of distress. How about 60 silver coins? As he spoke, 60 silver coins appeared in the shadow, placed in a small bag, and tied around the neck of the 3-headed hell dog. Go, wait. The man spoke again, you are too strong. In the past, you could easily threaten Mr. Lan. The 3-headed hell dog listened to the words in the shadow, and a look of despair flashed in his eyes. Turn on dog head separation mode. 1 dog becomes 3 dogs. The weakest doghead, who was less than level 60, slowly walked forward with the silver coins. The rest of the people in the venue, even Shadow 10, who was used to seeing Shura's coquettish actions along the way, was a little speechless at this time. Shura, you can always come up with something new for him. Lan Lao laughed dumbly and shook his head. He felt like he no longer needed to verify his identity. The person opposite must be Shura. Whether it is an illusion or the devil behind the illusion, it is absolutely impossible to simulate a person so meticulously. The purity of Shura is too high, it belongs to yes. Ding dong. 60 silver coins appeared in Ying 11's palm. He checked them carefully and found that there were no problems, then handed the silver coins to Lan Lao. It's true too. These 60 silver coins have been collected by Mr. Lan for many years. Each one has its own name, so there is no mistake. Come here, slow down. Following Shadow 11's instructions, the two slowly approached. When the distance was only 5 meters, both parties took out a small black box. Brother 10. This time, Ying 11 completely believed the other party's identity. There was no way, the fog that was suturing the abyss was too powerful to allow him to be careless. Moreover, if it is an illusion, approaching this distance can completely threaten Mr. Lan, and there is no need to continue to pretend. Looking at Ying 10 alone, Ying 11 was a little surprised. Brother 10, where is Shura? Shouldn't it be 2 people? Why is Brother 10 alone? Where has Shura gone? Before Ying 11 finished speaking, a black shadow emerged from the solace of Ying 11's feet and disappeared directly into the shadow under Lan Lao. A young man's voice sounded in Lao Ian's ears. Shadow General 4399, escort you. This shadow promises that I will never chop the protector casually, I will never threaten the protector with a knife on his neck, and I will never turn into a grumpy old man. Interesting boy. Listening to the voice coming from the shadow, Lan Lao nodded slightly and spoke slowly. There are rules in the shadow. The shadow takes the initiative to speak to the protected person, and every word is fined. General level, if I remember correctly, 1 word is 2,500 gold coins. 48 words, fine, 120,000 gold coins. The Eye of Insight thoughtfully helped Ye Bai calculate the amount of the fine and gave him a top-up. Ye Bai. This shadow is inappropriate. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjai Old Thief. Chapter 217. Let's put money aside for now. Ye Bai and Ying Shi finally found Mr. Lan after all the hard work. The plan to rescue Lan Lao was half successful. Everything is difficult at the beginning, then difficult in the middle, and finally difficult at the end. Shadow 10 asked, what should we do now? Ye Bai, who was hiding in Lao Ian's shadow, said. Lao Lan, Ying 11, I will teach you an action that can resist illusion attacks and enhance mental defense. Good. After hearing what Shura said, the two of them naturally had no reason to refuse. The illusion of mist is getting stronger and stronger, and it does require a little more resistance. Lao Lan, if you take 3 steps back, the range of movement will be a bit large. Listening to Shura's words, Lan Lao thought thoughtfully and followed them truthfully. You raise your hands, press your thumbs on your temples, close your eyes, and scrape your eye sockets with your index fingers. This action is rather strange and seems familiar. But what evil intentions could Shura have? Ying 11 and Lan Lao still did as they were told. Do it? Ye Bai didn't need to remind him. The moment Ying 11 raised his hand and closed his eyes, Ying 10 suddenly took action and punched Ying 11 in the lower abdomen. Boom! Shadow 11 spurted out a mouthful of black blood, mixed with white mist. Lan Lao stood there and sighed. Ying 11 was about to resist, but when he saw the color of the blood and the mist, he immediately understood. He suddenly became angry and jealous, and his neck was red with envy. He was actually tricked without knowing it. If Ye Bai and Ying Shi hadn't arrived in time, he would have been infected by the mist soon, and I can't imagine what he would do next. Stay calm and don't get emotional. Ying 10 roared, punched Ying 11 in the face, and knocked out the white mist and black blood again. Shadow 11. It's hard for people to be emotionless with your punch-and-punch physical therapy. The greater your mood swings, the harder it is to clear the fog. Boom. Another punch, at an extremely tricky angle, hit Ying 11's ribs, and another mouthful of black blood mixed with white mist spurted out. No need for Ye Bai to explain, Lan Lao also understood what was going on. In fact, Ye Bai and Ying Shi had a perfect cooperation from the moment they met. After closing the distance, the two of them discovered that Shadow 11 was soaked in mist and was in a very dangerous situation. Faced with Shadow 11 who may lose control at any time, Ye Bai first sneaked into Lan Lao's shadow to ensure that Lan Lao's life was safe. Then, Ye Bai asked the two sides to distance themselves and create opportunities for Ying Shi to take action. Finally, Ying 10 took action, making the final decision and controlling Ying 11. It all happened in the blink of an eye. After Shadow 11 reacted, the situation was completely controlled by Shura and others, and there were no more variables. Lan Lao nodded slightly and said softly, Shura, a great talent. Lao Lan, if you want to praise me, you can speak louder. In front of the two of them, Ying 11 was being beaten mercilessly. His own strength was not as good as that of Shadow 10, and the opponent used a sneak attack to gain the upper hand. In addition, after knowing the whole story, Ying 11 had no intention of resisting. Instead, he followed Ying Shi's instructions, controlled his emotions as much as possible, and took the beating silently. After spitting out the last mouthful of black blood, Ying 11 slumped, and the fog in his body was completely cleared. Use force to break the law, and it always works. Shadow 10 picked him up like a chicken and threw him into the shadow at his feet. Have a good rest. The fog in Ying 11's body was cleared away, the crisis was completely resolved, and Ye Bai breathed a sigh of relief. Okay, let's take a rest and then set off again. In addition to Ying Zi's need to recover and Lan Lao's need to rest, Ye Bai himself also had to sort out a lot of things. It has been several hours since we entered the stitching abyss. The Shura Sea far away in the Eternal Tower has stabilized at this time. The two skills that Ye Bai learned before changing jobs can now be used. Shura Sea, Shadow Sea. He had been busy traveling before, but now that he had some free time, Ye Bai could finally free up his hands to study the corresponding effects of his skills. Azura Sea summons the projection of Azura Sea to change the surrounding environment according to the existing elemental system. Existing elemental systems, water, shadow. Simply put, this is a home buff. Ye Bai couldn't help but recall the battle between himself and Feng Dong. This guy Feng Dong has obviously opened up the Eternal Sea, at least it has a prototype. As someone who can leave his name in the top 50 on the killing obelisk, Feng Dong's own strength is beyond doubt. It is normal to open the Eternal Sea in advance before reaching the War King level. Otherwise, the geniuses of the human race would be too weak. However, Feng Dong still hid his secret. He did not use the real Eternal Sea effect, but only applied it superficially. Ye Bai now masters 6 major categories, namely thunder, wind, fire, water, wood, shadow. Among them, water and shadow are classified under the Shura Great Mage career template. In other words, Ye Bai's current Shura C has the influence of both the water element and the shadow element. The remaining 4 series. If you want it to be effective in the Shura C, you must invest in precious materials corresponding to each department. The better the material, the better the effect of Shura High. Krypton gold makes people stronger. It's all money. Ye Bai couldn't help but have a headache when he thought of Shura High's expenses. At this time, it would be great if there was a kind person to help pay for it. For a moment, he missed Dimensi a little. Ye Bai quickly studied and understood the 2 abilities of Water System and Shadow System. After activating Shura C, water balls will be randomly generated around Ye Bai, and the water balls will move at high speed according to Ye Bai's command. When the enemy touches the water ball and takes damage, it will receive debuffs such as slowing down, restraining, and reducing healing. When Ye Bai touches the water ball, he will gain healing, shielding, and purification effects. The refresh frequency of water balls remains unchanged at 20 per second, and a maximum of 200 water balls can be maintained at the same time. In other words, the smaller the area affected by the Shura C, the denser the water balls produced. Putting aside magic resistance, each water ball can cause 200,000 damage/healing, and will continue to grow stronger as the scale of Shura C increases. If Ye Bai's blood volume is full, the water ball will provide a shield value of 100,000 points. Activate Shadow C, and shadows will be randomly refreshed around Ye Bai. Shadow has 3 effects, choose one. 1. You can exchange places with Ye Bai's body and bear 20% of the next damage for him. 2. Shadow imitates Ye Bai's movements and releases the same skill. The effect is only 20% and lasts for 3 seconds after activation. 3. The shadow imitates the enemy's movements and releases the same skill. The effect is only 20% and lasts for 3 seconds after activation. The refresh frequency of shadows is lower than that of water polo, with 2 randomly refreshed per second, and up to 10 shadows can be maintained at the same time. Whether it is water system or shadow system, as Ye Bai's level increases, the size of Shura C expands and its grade increases, it will become more powerful, and new effects will be added. If Shura C/Shadow C is activated at the same time, there will also be a linkage effect. The shadow can swap places in the water ball, giving it even greater mobility. However, the consumption of Ye Bai has indeed doubled and doubled again. Follow the prompts of the Eye of Insight. At this stage, if Ye Bai activates Azura C, water, or Shadow C alone and stays within 100 meters of him, he can last for 120 seconds. Activate both at the same time, and the range of 100 meters can only last for 30 seconds. In 30 seconds, Ye Bai continued to consume shadows and water balls without touching the upper limit. A total of 600 water balls and 60 shadows can be refreshed. It helps a lot in the battle. These data are all after the 100% bonus of Shura C's blessing. In terms of strength alone, the effects of Shura C, water, and Shadow C are very powerful even if they are limited to Ye Bai's level 200. Ordinary first-level War Kings, and even the Eternal C of second-level War Kings, are not as good as him. After Ye Bai returns to the Eternal Tower and spends a lot of money to upgrade his level, he can even reach a higher level. After putting away the introduction of the 2 skills, Ye Bai was obviously in a good mood. The 2 skills Azura C and Shadow C are more focused on preserving life. In terms of output, Ye Bai ignored it. In fact, If you pile up 10 shadows and release skills such as Raging Sea and Spark together, the damage will be terrifying. Or if you save 200 water balls, you can cause 40 million damage in an instant. It's just that in front of the 30th floor, they are all younger brothers. In addition to these two skills, Yabai also has another skill waiting to be learned. He looked down at the Heavenly King's sword at his waist. The most powerful Wuhan once dragged Xuemeng to send 5 skill books to Yabai. Yabai learned a move breaking water flow, and there are 4 copies left, all of which are stored in the Heavenly King's sword. Among these 4 books, the lowest required learning level is level 200. Yabai had just reached level 200 before setting off, but he had not yet met the learning requirements, so he could only put it aside temporarily. On the Heavenly King's sword, a skill book appeared. The tip of the pen is like a sword, unstoppable, unruly, young and frivolous. It's still my second brother's familiar tone, familiar style, pretentiousness like the wind, always with me. I saw the cover of the skill book saying, I am level 200 and go into battle to kill demons. A cunning demon war god turned his demon body into a sky filled with stars. His true body was hidden among the stars, making me unable to reach with my sword. In a moment, I understood a sword and killed it. This sword is called Star Reaching. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjio Old Thief. Chapter 218. Reaching for the Stars. This sword sounds very powerful. Yabai looked at the introduction of the skill book. Star Reaching, like a phantom, rush towards the target within 1000 at 5 level meters at extremely fast speed, and slash out with a sword to cause 5000 at 3 physical attack damage. At the same time, it stays next to the target for 0.5 seconds. During this period, you can cast spells/attacks. After 0.5 seconds, you are forced to return to the original place instantly. You can end Star Reaching early and return to the original place. Star Reaching causes 300% true damage to phantom entities. During the release of Star Reaching, if you kill the target, including phantoms, the cooldown will be reset. Consumption, none. Cooling time, 120s, does not enjoy any cooling reduction effect. Hiss. Yabai took a deep breath, feeling that his second brother was so terrifying. This sword is indeed strong and very strange. There are 2 stages in spell casting. In the first stage, rush forward and stab with the sword, and there will be a 0.5 second stagnation time. With Yabai's current level, he can attack targets within a range of 2000 meters, causing tens of thousands of damage. If it is a phantom, it will suffer nearly 100,000 real damage. In the second stage, end the stagnation, return to the original place, and determine the kill. If you kill the target, you can use Star Reaching again. If the kill is not successful, there will be a cooling time of up to 2 minutes. The core of the entire skill is not the 300% real damage bonus, but the kill determination. Resetting the cooldown time means that Star Reaching can be released indefinitely if you have a super powerful output method. Isn't it a coincidence? No one knows output better than me. 0.5 seconds. No need at all. Yabai first stacked 30 layers to prepare for the attack, then set up a thunder and lightning blessing, and used his backhand to pick the stars and match the sky thunder. Kill one person in 10 steps and leave no trace in 1,000 miles. Hello. A movement of 2,000 meters. If you stop picking stars early and return to the original place after a successful kill, that's a moving distance of 4,000 meters. The more Yabai thought about it, the more excited he became, and found that this sword move seemed to be tailor-made for him. Reaching for the stars and the inseparable wind are a perfect match. Reaching for stars can decapitate people and stack their movement distance. After the movement distance is superimposed, the rangeless wind bursts out with super high damage. Just imagine. In the group battle, Ye-Bai brushes the distance between reaching stars in 10 seconds. Then, release star reaching again, teleport to the enemy 2000 meters away, then follow winds no distance to cause super high damage and super long displacement, then end star reaching and return to the original place. Hiss. This picture is so beautiful that Ye-Bai doesn't dare to think about it. The most critical point is to use the forced return mechanism of star reaching to double the movement distance created by wind's distance. The next wind without distance will cause terrible damage. It's a bug. Strong, second brother. Ye-Bai was excited, but also a little puzzled. Reaching for the stars is very suitable for Ye-Bai, there is no doubt about it. But what about the second brother? Simply speaking from the panel, this move is not that strong at level 200. Ye-Bai had this question from a long time ago. When he first got the Breaking Water Flow skill book, Ye-Bai remembered it very clearly. His second brother said that this sword could kill the King of War. Ye-Bai was certain that the damage caused by water flow alone would never pose a threat to the King of War. Whether it's breaking water or reaching for stars, it's obvious that it needs to be paired with the second brother's SSS level talent in order to burst out with super high damage. Ye-Bai analyzed calmly. If that were the case, that would make more sense. Thinking of this, Ye-Bai looked at Lao Lan. The reason why Lan Lao is trapped here is because of his second awakening. The condition for his second awakening is to live to be 200 years old. The second brother Wuhan can help Lan Lao solve this problem. Second brother's talent is related to time. While thinking about this problem, Ye-Bai raised his head and looked towards the mist. There are stars. The learning conditions for reaching for the stars are to slash a sword into the sky under the stars. Until now, Ye-Bai can learn reaching for stars. Ye-Bai looked at Yingxi and asked. I'm going to go out with a sword strike next. The noise may be a bit loud. Is that okay? Yingxi frowned slightly. Do you want me to cover up the movement? No, the louder the noise, the more it will attract Xuemeng and the others to come over. I mean, it might be more difficult to endure. Ye-Bai analyzed calmly. Now that they have received Mr. Lan, the next step should be to join Xuemeng and others and find a way to escape together. Of course, it would be best if all the demon seeds could be eliminated and the suture abyss purified. All tasks must be carried out while ensuring personal safety. It's not Yebegu, but the advantage now lies with the human race, and time is also on the side of the human race. As long as you stay steady and grow secretly, victory is in sight. Ying 10 looked at Ying 11 in the shadow and assessed the status of the two of them. Let's give it another 5 minutes to restore the state to at least 80%. 80%? How is this enough? Ye-Bai didn't understand what Yingxi meant. He's only in 80% condition. Doesn't that mean he's seriously injured? Wait another 15 minutes. There is something here that can help Shadow 11 recover. As he spoke, Ye-Bai took out a pile of prepared healing items and passed them from Lan Lao's shadow to Yingxi's shadow. Shadow 11, thank you. Ye-Bai waved his hands repeatedly. You're welcome, just put the money on my card later. Forget it, don't bother. I'll let Master Ju deduct it directly from your salary. Shadow 11. Good. With the healing items provided by Ye-Bai, Ying 11 can restore his condition to 95% after 15 minutes. Although the injury was still minor, that was all. After waiting silently for 15 minutes, Ying 11 emerged from the shadow, and so did Ye-Bai. He returned to Lan Lao's shadow, while Shadow 10 was responsible for protecting Ye-Bai. Without the personal protection of the 9th level God of War, Ye-Bai dared to strike out with this sword. Looking at the sky full of stars, he holds the star-reaching skill book in his left hand and the Heavenly King sword in his right hand. Ye-Bai took a deep breath, exhaled it slowly, and drank softly. I, second brother, have a sword that can reach the stars. Hold the sword, draw the sword, draw the sword. Look at the sword. Cut. The skill book turned into countless starlights and sank into Ye Bai's body. Ye Bai's speed increased to the extreme and he slashed towards the stars. Boom. At first, it was just a bit of white light, then a frightening white light pillar rose from the ground, and then turned into a roaring white dragon that galloped for 9 days, and finally, it was like the birth of a heavenly king. At this moment, Yingxi was completely thrown out of Ye Bai's shadow and stared blankly ahead. Although he had already expected it, he knew that this sword was extraordinary. I never expected that Shura could make such a stunning sword strike. This sword was not just struck by Ye Bai, but the Heavenly King's sword pulled Ye Bai and inspired infinite sword energy. The sledgehammer smashed a terrifying crack in the ground, and Fit fell in accidentally. He had seen the image of the Heavenly King's sword before and could not mistake it. Xuemeng suddenly raised his head and looked at the sword energy in the sky, watching the sword energy white dragon finally transform into the King of Heaven and strike out with a sword that reaches for the stars. Apart from Wuhan's sword, there is nothing worth caring about, not even the Lan Bangxian. After all, I still paid by mistake. Whether it was a sword or a sword move, Xuemeng was extremely familiar with it, yet it was so unfamiliar at this moment. The entire suture abyss, accompanied by Ye Bai's shocking sword strike, echoed with a heart-rending cry. Feng Dong stretched his neck, looked at the changing sword light, and said casually, "No. As a 9th level war god, Su Qingfeng is qualified to say this. Impossible, absolutely impossible. The rescue team of Lao Lan is trekking. It seems to be the sword energy of the Heavenly King's sword." Xuemeng's face was full of shock, his whole body fell into a sluggish state, and he repeated, "Look, there is sword energy." In his confusion, the sledgehammer in his hand slipped to the ground. "This sword can also kill the King of Heaven." Sowing the abyss. The words Heavenly King's sword instantly touched the nerves of the 2 9th level war gods. When Ye Bai slashed out that sword, someone immediately noticed something strange. Impossible. How could it happen that it fell into Shura's hands? Looking at the tiny bit of white light, Su Qingfeng said casually, "How can this be? Is it stronger than Master Yingju's sword? The Heavenly King's sword. The Heavenly King's sword. Fang is the King of Heaven." Xuemeng roared almost desperately, showing signs of atavism, and his hands and feet danced wildly. "Isn't it just a sword energy? There's nothing to make a fuss about. Being rejected again and again, returning without success, being extremely frustrated again and again, starting over again. How could the Heavenly King's sword be in Shura's hands? That's the Heavenly King's sword. The power of heaven is mighty, holding the sword is the king." Xuemeng has been to the eternal forest countless times, thinking about it day and night, thinking about the Heavenly King's sword that he wanted to take away. Sword. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjai Old Thief. Chapter 219. Sowing the Abyss. The movement of the sword light was very loud, which not only attracted the attention of the rescue team, but also attracted the attention of the monsters. Originally, the demon gods could only guide these monsters behind the scenes. Now, they don't have to do anything, the monsters will automatically flock to where the sword light is. This shocking sword was so overbearing that it even vaguely threatened the safety of the Suture Abyss Plane. The Suture Abyss Plane does not allow such NB people. The will of the Abyss Plane will protect its own existence at all costs, and the monsters will naturally attack Ye Bai and others crazily. Su Qingfeng didn't look at Xuemeng, who was out of control, but looked at the sword light that was gradually subduing, with worry on his face. With the vision of a 9th level war god, he can naturally easily distinguish the current situation. There are too many monsters, they may not be able to support it. As he spoke, Su Qingfeng turned his head. Xuemeng, show off like a 9th level god of war, where are you jumping to? Su Qingfeng didn't know it until he saw it, and was shocked when he saw it. Xuemeng actually wanted to jump into the crack in the ground. This crack was made by Xuemeng's usual sledgehammer. It seems someone else fell down. Xuemeng couldn't bear the blow and his mentality collapsed. Just as Xuemeng jumped down, a black shadow was thrown up by him. Covered in stone armor, Feet was already dying under the stone armor. This is. Su Qingfeng's pupils shrank. Feet's strength was not weak. In the team, except for the two 9th level war gods, Feet's defense ranks among the top 3. In the blink of an eye, he was seriously injured. Even a peak Battle King level monster would not be able to beat Feet to this level so quickly. Feet quickly wrote in the air with his index finger. There are war level monsters underground. They are very strong. Don't go down there. Most of Feet's body had been completely petrified, and most of his vitals were protected, allowing him to survive the siege of monsters. In fact, there is no way Feet could fall down through a simple crack. Even if he fell, Feng Dong would be able to hold him on his back. The problem is that the moment the crack appears, a rope forcefully pulls Fit down. Due to the unknown danger, Fit immediately activated the second form of his talent to save his life. Even under extreme grief and anger, Xuemeng immediately realized that something was wrong and jumped down the crack to rescue Feet. Everything happened in a flash of lightning. If Xuemeng slowed down even for a moment, Feet's life might have been sealed. After Feet was rescued, several rays of light immediately fell on him, raising his blood volume and treating his injuries. Some petrified parts cannot be restored temporarily, which is a sequelae of overactivating talents. Withdraw. Su Qingfeng, as if facing a formidable enemy, organized everyone to stay away from the cracks. Everyone asked as they retreated. Vice Captain, aren't you going to save the captain? Just throw Xuemeng into a crack in the ground and leave him alone? Although he is also a 9th level god of war, there are not many enemies underground. Is it too dangerous? Save Xuemeng? You still don't understand the situation. Su Qingfeng ran at the back, his expression extremely serious, and he said seriously. We are running away now just to avoid the aftermath of that guy's battle. The angry Xuemeng, once he takes action with all his strength. Unable to find adjectives to express his feelings, Su Qingfeng could only say helplessly. Too fierce. Be careful, it's coming. It seemed to be to fulfill Su Qingfeng's words. Before everyone could run out a few hundred meters, a terrifying and ferocious pillar of blood and energy suddenly rose from the crack. This pressure is even better than the previous sword move. A huge shadow instantly enveloped everyone present, stagnating their bodies and causing countless fears to strike. The blood pressure is so terrifying. Boom. In order to block the bloody light, Su Qingfeng instantly lined up everyone in a straight line, while he stood at the end, facing the impact of the bloody light. Fight hard. Boom. The windshield on Su Qingfeng's body was completely broken, and a folding fan at his waist was broken from it. His face turned white and suddenly turned red, and he wiped away the blood that overflowed from the corner of his mouth in an instant. Su Qingfeng was also very aggrieved. He is a strong man in both the wind and space systems, specializing in them. In terms of ultimate lethality, Su Qingfeng was only slightly inferior to Xuemeng. But in terms of rough skin and thick flesh, and ability to withstand hits and injuries, Su Qingfeng is no match for Xuemeng. What he did was a delicate job, a surgical-grade beheading. Xuemeng? That's a fucking butcher, a slaughter. Can it be the same? Under other circumstances, Su Qingfeng would have been able to rely on the space system to resist this damage, and he would not have been in such an embarrassing situation. The problem here is the suture abyss, where the space system has been weakened countless times in order to trap Lan Lao. The combination of various factors made it extremely difficult for Su Qingfeng to resist the aftermath of Xuemeng's battle. After the aftermath, Su Qingfeng swallowed a mouthful of blood. His right hand was shaking uncontrollably, so he simply put it behind his back. Su Qingfeng turned around, looked at the 8 people under his protection, and was about to ask questions. As soon as he opened his mouth, he spat out a mouthful of black blood, staining his entire shirt black. Su Qingfeng said word by word. "This is the internal injury that was caused by Master Yingju back then, but it is now being pulled out. He is worthy of being the god of war with the strongest wind tactics. Changing clothes with just one click has made him understand the game. The face is as still as water, and the mind is as calm." This time, everyone felt their eyes blurred. Su Zhanshen changed his clothes again and his expression remained as usual. Seeing Xuemeng slowly walking toward the crowd, Su Qingfeng couldn't help but feel a little palpitated. Here, I would like to remind all students that after becoming the 9th level god of war, you must not challenge Master Yingju. See clearly, this man is walking towards you, remember this figure. Su Qingfeng raised his left hand and coughed twice, indicating that everyone could turn around. Su Qingfeng smiled slightly and shook his head slightly, as if he didn't understand what Feng Dong was talking about. While Su Qingfeng was speaking, another mouthful of black blood surged up. As long as he doesn't feel embarrassed, others will be embarrassed. The terrifying bloody light pillar slowly dissipated, and under the light pillar, a burly figure dragging a bloody warhammer slowly walked out. He was glad that he and Xuemeng were teammates, not enemies. Among people of the same rank, Xuemeng has never met an opponent, and battles across ranks are commonplace. The remaining 8 people in the team turned their heads in tacit agreement and pretended not to see anything. The corners of Feng Dong's mouth twitched crazily. Su Qingfeng sighed again and said helplessly, "There is no way to survive." The angry full blow just now was enough to kill all the monsters underground, even those at the god of war level. Due to his nephew's face, Feng Dong had no choice but to keep these words in his heart. In 1 second, the clothes were changed, and the handle of the folding fan was also changed. "Nephew, you were dueling in the Eternal Core City back then. Can you please pay attention to the background when you lie?" Feng Dong had 10,000 things he wanted to complain about in his heart. The scene was a little awkward for a while. After entering the god of war realm, except for the most powerful. Even if you say you were beaten by demon god Fenki, it is more reliable than this excuse. Besides, can exposing one's dark history really divert everyone's attention? He has been in the past 30 years, no, it should be said in the 100 years of human history. Su Qingfeng really suppressed the injuries in his body this time and spoke calmly. Feng Dong sighed and whispered, "Nephew, just spit it out if you can't help it. It will make you feel much better. Is everyone okay?" Feng Dong looked at Su Qingfeng again. "The person who kills the most demons." Ahem. Feng Dong. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjai Old Thief. Chapter 220. The person who has killed the most demons in the human race for hundreds of years. From the flashing blood light, Xuemeng strolled out carrying a bloody sledgehammer, and Su Qingfeng's just-in-time explanation created an excellent picture. This picture seems to be imprinted deep in the soul, leaving an indelible impression on everyone present. However, Feng Dong didn't understand something. Why did my nephew suddenly switch to commentary? This style of painting is not quite right. Is there something wrong? Su Qingfeng stepped forward to greet Xuemeng. With his back to everyone and his right hand in front, Su Qingfeng lowered his voice and said, "I've said everything you asked me to say. That's almost it. It's a bit shameless to use blood energy to distract the injury." Several times before, Su Qingfeng vomited blood when he opened his mouth in front of everyone. It was not his own fault. But someone is causing trouble behind your back. Someone used this as a coercion to coerce Su Qingfeng into saying something nice. Why can't I understand what you are talking about? Xuemeng blinked his big innocent eyes, his face full of innocence. Just now, I thought I heard someone complimenting me on how handsome I am. Are you really? Wait, are you level 981? Su Qingfeng gritted his teeth and quickly realized something else. Xuemeng's level has actually been raised by 1 level. After level 600, killing powerful monsters in the abyss plane can increase the level. However, if you want to level up through this method, you need to kill monsters of the same level or even higher than yourself, which is extremely difficult. For ordinary people, it is better to return to the Eternal Tower and slowly level up. Of course, for Xuemeng, it was just a piece of cake. That's what I was going to tell you. Xuemeng's face became serious and he said seriously. The monsters in the underground are completely different from those on the ground, and there is no damage-free buff. It should not have been born in this plane, but was hidden in it from the beginning. The ground here can isolate the fog and our detection, so we have never found them. Listening to Xuemeng's introduction, Su Qingfeng looked worried. Xuemeng explained. There was a 9th level war god monster hidden in the crack in the ground just now, carrying a demon seed next to it. If I guessed correctly, at the right time, the god of war monster swallows the demon god's seed, and it should have the opportunity to advance further in strength and even attack the demon god. And according to my perception, there is more than one 9th level god of war in the passage. Su Qingfeng frowned. There were more weird things in the abyss than they imagined. The demon gods have laid more than one trap in this abyssal plane. With the evolution of the abyssal plane, the upper limit of the level it can accommodate is also constantly increasing. Xuemeng pointed behind him and said, I have to chase the 9th level god of war monster in the passage. Leaving it behind will be a hidden danger after all. You lead the team to where the sword light is. The sword just killed the surrounding monsters and the fog cleared. It will not be too difficult for you to lead the team by yourself. Moreover, the noise I just made was too great. The suture abyss plane has begun to reject and hate my existence. No matter where I go, the monsters born will attack me crazily. From what Xuemeng said, he planned to divide his troops into 2 groups. If you leave the monsters underground alone, it will indeed cause a lot of trouble for everyone at a critical moment. There are 4 9th level gods of war among the top warriors of the human race who are suturing the abyss. Shadow 10, Shadow 11, Xuemeng, Su Qingfeng. Now that Xuemeng has drawn hatred, acting alone and letting the others gather together is the best solution at the moment. Su Qingfeng didn't hesitate for too long and nodded in agreement. Okay. There is no need to worry about Xuemeng's life safety. Even without the 2 most powerful adoptive fathers, Xuemeng was still in a mess. In fact, the devil secretly planned to trap Xuemeng, not just once or twice. In order to break through to level 990 of the Tongtian god of war, Xuemeng would always appear in the most dangerous places and fight with his life in every battle. The demon god is not afraid of the addition of a powerful person to the human race, but it is difficult for him to accept the addition of a powerful god of war to the human race. There are many powerful people in the human race, but the one who is suffering is the supreme demon god. The extra Tongtian war god is the one who feels uncomfortable. Especially, a war god like Xuemeng. With Xuemeng's fighting prowess as a 9th level god of war, once he becomes the god of war, the consequences will be disastrous. There is no longer any suspense about the title of the most powerful god of war in the human race. It is precisely because of this that, privately, even if Xuemeng bears the title of the 2 most powerful foster fathers, the demon god would like to kill him. The most powerful person that the demon gods fear most is Xiaoyao, who is in full condition. As for Nightmare and Traceless, it's no longer their time. There is nothing to fear anymore. Su Qingfeng pointed at the crack and spoke again. This pit may be a pit. The timing of the crack's appearance was too coincidental, and it was connected by a passage. It was too similar to swaying a tiger away from the mountain, luring away Xuemeng, the strongest of them all. Of course I know, but do I have a choice? Xuemeng smiled and shook his head. I can feel that there must be at least 2 9th-level God of War monsters at the other end of the passage. If I don't go after them, the target of their attack will be Mr. Lan. Putting aside the buff that attracts monsters, if you want Xuemeng to be willing to take the bait, the demons must at least show some sincerity. These 2 9th-level war gods were just appetizers for Xuemeng. If sincerity is not enough, Xuemeng will have enough time to come and join Lan Lao and others after killing the demon war god. Stop talking, I'm going to kill a 9th-level war god first. Xuemeng carried the sledgehammer, jumped back into the crack, and went after the 9th-level demon clan god of war. Any later and he wouldn't be able to catch up with the opponent. For some reason, Su Qingfeng always had the illusion of being offended. Looking at Xuemeng's leaving figure, Su Qingfeng was thoughtful. Why do I think this guy doesn't want to see Shura, so he makes so many excuses? Xuemeng talked a lot about it, but he just didn't want to see Shura. 2. When Xuemeng saw the Heavenly King's sword in Shura's hand, he was extremely jealous and could only be helpless and furious. Better not to walk. Su Qingfeng greeted the remaining people and rushed in the direction of the remaining sword energy. Hurry up and join up with Lan Lao and Shura, and then find a way to escape from this world. Suturing the abyss. Ye Bai, Lan Lao and others were there. After the sword energy soared into the sky, it strangled all the surrounding monsters. Even the demon god Seed was killed by one of them. When everything returned to calm, there was a vacuum area around Ye Bai and others, without the threat of monsters and fog. While it's now, arrange it as soon as possible. Shadow 10 stayed in place to guard, while Shadow 11 carried various items and props, and arranged various formations and traps around several people. The movement of the blood energy light beam was also very loud, and Ye Bai and others could naturally notice it. Is Xuemeng so fierce? Ye Bai looked at the blood energy light pillar, and there seemed to be a strange light shining in his eyes. Does that mean that after this battle, he will be much richer? Rich? Yingxi was very surprised. Wasn't Xuemeng always rich? Regardless of Xuemeng's wealth. Several people have other things to be busy with right now. Seizing this brief period of calm, Lan Lao spoke again. Did you collect data on the abyssal plane along the way? Shadow 10 shook his head. It happened suddenly. I'm not very good at using these things. I only carried a simple detector. With that said, he handed the detector to Lao Lan. Lan Lao's previous calculations were all based on the manual running data of Shadow 11. Although we can infer part of the truth, it is too vague. The precision of the instruments in the Shadow 10 belt is also very poor. Just when Lan Lao was disappointed, Ye Bai, who was hiding in the shadow, suddenly spoke. Data, Mr. Lan, what data do you want? Ask me. I don't know, the discerning eye doesn't know yet. Ye Bai suddenly felt that he was born to do scientific research. When others ran data, Ye Bai knew it at a glance. I forgot about you. Lan Lao chuckled and said seriously. My authority. The most I can do is create an SS-level temporary scientific research team to study topics related to sowing the abyss plane. The team's funding does not exceed 100,000 God of War merit points. Afterwards, a research report and corresponding materials must be written and submitted to a specific committee for approval. Depending on the value of the research results, the temporary scientific research group can be transformed into a formal research group at a later stage, with the highest SSS level and no cap on group funding. This is probably the situation. Film General 4399, are you interested in joining the scientific research team? Shadow 10's Shadow nodded crazily. If you are interested, please let me join your research team. Yabai has no interest in money at all, he just wants to make a contribution to scientific research.